Welcome to Olney On Air. I'm Gina Keating, editor of the Olney Enterprise.
And I'm Kimberly Smith, executive director of the Olney Chamber of Commerce.
This is episode 9, and we've got another great show for you. We'll catch you up on what's happening around Olney and Young County. Then we'll visit with Angela Lockard from the Young County Olney Senior Cub Center. Angela has a lot more going on than just Meals on Wheels, and she's here to tell us about some exciting programs and a very entertaining fundraiser that's just around the corner.
Then we're heading way out west, not Texas West, Utah West.
That's right. Olney High School biology teacher Will Stewart will be here to talk about the kids' incredible National Outdoor Leadership School Expedition. Then we'll welcome Olney ISD Superintendent Dr. Matt Caffey to tell us everything that's happening with our local schools and to share his experience on the Green River with the NOLS trip. He was one of the adult leaders.
Then we'll wrap everything up with this week's community calendar.
So grab your coffee, or if you're listening later, maybe an iced tea, and let's get started. Well, Kimberly, it was another busy week in Young County. We've got some good news from the football field, some exciting developments for downtown Olney, and a little glimpse into what the future could look like for our community.
So fill me in.
Let's start with the Cubs. While most kids are sleeping this summer, between 55 and 65 Olney athletes have been showing up every weekday morning for strength and conditioning workouts under Coach Dustin Altmiller. Coach Altmiller said these athletes have decided they want to compete for playoff spots and district championships in every sport, and they're willing to put in the work now to get there.
I love hearing that. Hard work usually pays off eventually. You also spent a day over in Graham this week.
That's right, I did. Governor Greg Abbott's Small Business Summit came to Graham, and it brought together business owners from all over this part of Texas. An important takeaway from this is that there are a lot of resources that small businesses in rural counties sometimes don't know that are available. The story in the newspaper takes you to the YouTube channel where you can watch the whole thing for free, or you can get on the governor's office website and look at all of the resources. So
that's great.
Yeah. Speaking of small business, the Olney Economic Development Corporation has launched something I think could really make a difference downtown. It's called the Facade Program, and the OEDC has been working on it for more than a year now.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about this. Why don't you tell everybody how it works?
You remember me writing about it, about how it's supposed to just beautify all of the storefronts.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
they've been trying to figure out how to do this because it is going to cost money to the business owners. And what they came up with was they're going to offer matching grants of up to $5,000 to help the business owners improve the outside appearances of their buildings. So what they're talking about is new paint, windows, signage, awnings, masonry work, and stuff like that. They're just trying to make it look more classic and remove the modern facades.
Yeah, I remember when we moved here and we first drove through downtown Olney, I was like, oh man, what a cute little town. And if we could make those improvements and sort of add the paint and the awnings, I think for us, we were really impressed with it already. So I can only imagine how much good it's going to do when businesses are able to do this.
Right. So it's going to be pretty awesome.
Yes. And lastly, over the weekend, St. Luke Lutheran held its Patriotic Organ Concert, which we talked about with Pastor Sean Reeves last week. How was it?
It was fantastic. It was everything we hoped it would be. We had just this soaring music. The organist did variations on America and Yankee Doodle, which was hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because the organ can do everything. It's just like you said, it's like a voice, you know, it sounded almost like a flute in some parts, and then it just filled the church. And then we had a sing-along afterwards, which the organist was telling us later at the ice cream social. She said, y'all were singing so loud that I could not hear the organ.
Oh, wow.
Everybody was so into it. It was really awesome because you don't get to sing those songs really loud anywhere.
Right.
So
right.
it was just great.
Absolutely. And speaking of community institutions, one organization that's been serving Olney for decades is the Senior Cub Center. And today we have Angela Lockard reminding us to support that wonderful resource at this Saturday's second annual variety show.
Hi, y'all. Thanks for having me on.
Welcome back to Olney On Air. You must be so busy.
Oh, it's crazy right now. It's hectic. But
So yeah, you were saying that you have today's Tuesday. Well, this will come out on Thursday, but you're saying that you have not a rehearsal, but a sound check?
yes, we're doing a sound check on Saturday, 2 to 4, and then all the performers and crew and everything get to break and go to dinner with their families and come back for the show.
Yay, this is going to be so exciting.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the variety show a little bit. The variety show is raising money for the Senior Cub Center, so tell us what people can expect that night.
Well, they can expect a good, wholesome family show that is very entertaining. We will have concessions available for purchase, and we will be giving away 9 door prizes.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, it's great. So, what do you think makes this year's show special?
Well, we have some great talent performing, and you'll see some old faces and you'll see some new faces. And so I just really think this is going to be a good time.
Okay, but tell us about some of the people. We're going to have 2 families, right, from here?
Yes.
Tell us who else is going to be there.
Okay, so the Edgington family will be there, and Chad and Melissa are going to do a bit. They'll open the show, actually.
All right.
And I was thinking about last year. I don't know the name. I should have looked it up, what the name of the little skit was they did. But they played the instruments and they bopped up and down and turned around. and it really reminded me of how TV was so long ago. Those are the kind of acts that would be on TV. And they were intelligent humor.
Yes.
It wasn't nonsense humor.
Yeah.
So they're very entertaining. So we're excited to see what they do. I found out recently that Chad Edgington, so he produced an album back in 2001, and this year it was re-released on vinyl to a Swedish label. Isn't that neat? Yeah. Yeah. And then the other person I really want to talk about, we didn't really talk about him last year. It was Kenny Fields. And so I got a chance to sit down with him this year and really get into his background and what his achievements were. And so he got his first guitar when he was 12 or 13. And he would just sing at home and play at tailgates, at rodeos. And he lived up north, so they didn't have very many rodeos. But he was so in love with rodeos, he moved to Texas. And he started playing at them. And he ended up opening for names like Michael Murphy Martin.
Oh, Michael Martin Murphy. Yes.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I know who he is.
And Doug Kershaw.
Mm-hmm. Your face is looking like, what?
I had to research all these people. But
soft country people, come on.
I started asking everyone, all the clients, and they're like, oh yeah, we know who they are. And I was like,
right.
okay.
Yes, me and all the clients, we all know. That's good music. Oh
Yeah.
my God, that's amazing. Okay, so Kenny Fields.
Cool.
Who else have we got?
I saw the Branham family will be there.
Yeah.
Yes, the Branham family, and they're sure to entertain. Let's see. Oh, another good one, Sandy York.
Ooh.
You know her from the grocery store?
I do.
She has the long hair. She's the first checker when you come in the morning.
Yes.
So you're going to be blown away. She has the most amazing voice.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's great.
we also have so Judy Underwood, she'll be the accompanist, and then Vicki Brown will do a piece, and Billy Pickett. If you haven't heard Billy Pickett, she's an operatic singer.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Guys, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah, that's
Who
fun.
knew we had this much talent in Olney?
I'm saying, yeah.
Oh my God, this is going to be so good.
That's awesome.
Okay, so where does the money raised actually go?
The money raised goes towards meeting the need of the nutrition programs, which consist of on-site affordable meals for seniors and Meals on Wheels for seniors and the disabled. So basically, let me break it down like this. An on-site meal costs the center $7.49, but we only suggest a $5 contribution for seniors.
Right.
And a Meals on Wheels it costs us $8.08. And once again, we only suggest a $5 contribution. So it really makes the meal affordable for those who are on a fixed income, and it just really helps. But so my point is that donations and fundraising are very vital to help meet that need.
Yes, absolutely. Especially in times like this where affordability is very hard to come by.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why community support is so important. And we have had a lot of people reach out since I was on the podcast last time, and then you wrote an article. Yeah, so we did.
That's awesome.
We did receive some calls and donations regarding that, but not all the meals served are government funded. So it's just good to remember that and think of us when you can. And if everybody gave $10, I mean, where would we be?
Right.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That's such a great goal.
Yeah, recurring donations I think are so important to that program because, like you said, $10, but if 5 people do that every month, that adds up and it adds up and it adds up.
Yeah.
So, and it's so important. I feel like our seniors and disabled, the ones on fixed income, I feel like a lot of the times as a community, they can be forgotten, especially seniors. And I just feel for them because they have this fixed income and they work their whole lives for it. And the amount doesn't go up. Everything else goes up, but their amount stays the same.
Exactly.
And it's just really upsetting because we are all going to get old eventually. And so I think we need to take care of our senior community. And
Absolutely.
it's important that we all show up and show out for
Absolutely,
our seniors. Can you share a story about someone whose life has been changed by Meals on Wheels?
I have lots of stories, but I'll try to reduce it down to a couple. So there was a lady who moved here, and she moved from California.
Oh my gosh.
And of course, she didn't know anybody here, but she had her grandsons here. And I can't even describe to you. It's not what she says, it's how she says it. She says, "Where would I be without the senior center?
Yeah.
You know, what would life be like?" And she's made so many connections through the center, and it's a real tight-knit community down there. We have open arms for everyone who walks through the doors. And so that's just one little story. So, the center has definitely impacted her life, because how would it have been without the senior center?
Right.
She goes to church in Dallas, so she doesn't have a community here, really a way to connect. So, but then there is a 3-person family on Meals on Wheels, or very low income, and they use our transportation system to get them to the doctor. They don't have a vehicle, and even if they did, they couldn't drive. So we take them there. We pick them up, and we bring them the meal every day and little gifts here and there for special holidays. And it's just amazing the gratitude that you can see in their eyes when they get these services. And we'll receive phone calls periodically from them, and we'll be on the phone for 15 minutes with them, just telling us over and over again how grateful they are and how much this has impacted their life. So it really is working. It really is providing resources and connection and nutritious, balanced meals.
Right.
Yeah. And I think it's just so wonderful for people to feel like they're cared for and seen. This is such a great community for that. So what signs do volunteers watch for that tell them a senior might need extra help?
Well, if a volunteer saw signs of abuse, neglect, or exploitation, they'd be the first-hand advocate for reporting that to the appropriate authorities. But also, say if a senior stepped into our building, they were disheveled, they were looking around lost, confused, agitated, that might indicate that they need a little extra help. Not to mention those who come to the center using walkers, wheelchairs, or canes. they need just a little extra assistance. So
you guys are the first line of defense for them, or the first line of help.
yes.
And the volunteers too.
I think it's important to note that even if you are not able to give monetarily, just being a volunteer, like volunteering your time is also very effective for programs like this.
Yes.
Just having people come in there, even if you can't do money, but the time and being a part of the center in a meaningful way is also super important.
Yes, you're so right, Kim.
All right.
So if someone listening knows an elderly neighbor who could benefit, how would that process work?
Sometimes it takes a friend, a neighbor, or a family member to make that initial call to us. A lot of times people are not aware of how much help they need and how much they qualify for, you know, and they feel dignified and independent, and they don't want to compromise on that. So someone supportive could be that helping hand to reach out to us and be there while we're going through the questions with them. Just be there to support them through that.
Yeah, and I think I would imagine it's been proven that having a sense of purpose and somewhere to go is so helpful to people. Isolating is the number one thing you don't want to do, you know? So if a neighbor, I think for sometimes the older generation, they'll have like a neighbor that they talk to, but somebody that they trust and that they know, coming to them, be like, hey, did you know that they have this? Even just taking that 5 minutes to let them know. But isolating is, I think, one of the worst things they can do.
Absolutely. What I hear so often is that I don't want to be a burden to anyone.
Yeah.
And that's so sad to me, you know, because they clearly need help.
Right.
So.
Right. And also, I mean, they're part of making the senior center such a great place. When you walk into it, the atmosphere is so welcoming and so fun. And it's because of what every single person brings to it. So
Yes.
they're not a burden. They're helping create a community. So people, get out there, help make the place great, help make it exciting and some place that everybody wants to be. Is delivering Meals on Wheels something that anyone can do?
Well, anyone with a vehicle, a clean background, really knowledge of the area is preferred. And most important, a caring heart can become a volunteer for delivering Meals on Wheels. In fact, we have all kinds of volunteering opportunities, from kitchen help to answering phones and coordinating deliveries to being an on-call bingo caller.
No, I didn't know you could do that.
Yes, that's great.
That could be my job.
Yes.
Okay, what do volunteers tell you that they get out of it?
Well, they get to see friendships and connections that make a difference. They also get to feel a sense of honor and pride getting to serve so many grateful clients and so many neat people.
Yeah. So many great
For
stories
sure.
at the senior center. You just would be shocked at some of the experiences that people have had in that generation. So,
Yeah, and some people are just natural caretakers. So if you have somebody who the kids are gone, the grandkids have moved on, and they have all this love to give and nowhere to really put it all. And I think that they make the best volunteers. Somebody who's just a servant heart, you know?
You're actually right about that. The lady I was speaking about earlier that moved from California, that's the case. You know,
Right.
She's one of our biggest volunteers.
Yeah.
So, Angela, what are the biggest challenges seniors are facing right now?
Well, I think the biggest challenges they're facing is at the grocery store. You know, it's kind of like Kim was talking about earlier, where the working class has the opportunity to adjust their income situation, but seniors are on a fixed income. It doesn't rise with the cost of living, and many of those who are retired are not prepared for such a drastic rise, especially over the last 6 years. It's a lot.
Yeah, I was on my Walmart app and I looked at a grocery order from 2020 to now, because we pretty much order all the same stuff, and it is appalling, the difference.
Oh my gosh, that would be really interesting.
Yeah.
It is crazy. And it's just the little stuff that you don't, even condiments. You would think it's insane. Mac and cheese boxes. And I think a telltale sign of inflation is the price of ramens. What?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm paying how much for those now?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I think it's insane. And I think people have to remember that seniors, working class, like we can go out and sell something really quick, or we can go hustle up some money doing something.
Yeah.
Oh, let me mow some yards, or you can pick up all these side hustles. And seniors don't have that ability. And I mean,
Yes.
I just can't, it's terrible. They've given their lives, they've worked, they've paid their dues, and they're not, and there's no raise, there's no COLA here.
Yeah.
Yep.
We need one for sure. Okay, so what kinds of volunteers do you need most?
Regular kitchen volunteers are the biggest volunteering opportunity right now and need. We currently have a couple who volunteer a lot of their time to help out in the kitchen, but that's on a couple of days a week and days that the regular staff are out. But I'd like to get help for every day of the week without burning out my other volunteers.
So what do you do in the kitchen? So just in case anybody's listening to this and is thinking, I don't know how to cook.
Well, they wouldn't be cooking. They would just be washing dishes and sometimes running and grabbing something if we needed it. Things as simple as rolling silverware, wiping down counters, it's wiping down tables, filling condiments.
Everybody can do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Come on, let's have some volunteers.
If funding were not an issue, what would you love to add?
Well, my dream is to one day have a recreation center with a spa and multiple pickleball courts and maybe some other stuff. We have a whole field behind the Cub Center.
Oh yeah,
It's just open.
Does that belong? That belongs to the Cub Center?
Yeah, that's all. That's all the same property.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I was thinking if it was like double decker, and
Yeah.
I don't know. The sky's the limit, really. But
That sounds pretty cool. See, that would be treating our seniors the way they deserve to be
Absolutely,
treated.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine?
Yeah, I used to go with my grandma in El Paso for a couple of weeks every summer, and she worked at the recreation center, and they had this whole thing for seniors, and I couldn't have been older than 12, and they would have a water aerobics, and then I would do the chair aerobics with my grandma. I was 11 years old, but it was so much fun, and everybody, I was always like, man, they're so active, like even speed walking with my grandma and her friends,
Right.
It was so much fun. And that's one of my greatest memories was being with all these seniors, and it's just me, and I'm just doing all these like milk jugs and
Oh my gosh.
Well,
that would be awesome if
fantastic.
Olney had something like that.
we already do chair yoga, and I love it when they bring their grandkids and their grandkids participate. But yeah, we're already doing yoga, but I would just like a special building,
Right.
like, specifically for exercise and that kind of purpose.
With the adjustments already made for them. Yeah, that would be awesome.
I think that'd be great. All right, that's it. We're putting it. That's right. Okay, so what keeps you motivated every day?
Well, James 1:27 says, "Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless as this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress." And that's exactly what me and my team are doing every day. That's really something meaningful to me. But most importantly, it's meaningful to the Lord.
Yeah, I can see that would be a way to get up in the morning and keep on going.
Yes.
Despite all these challenges, you always look like you're having such a good time there.
What is the most inspiring thing you've learned from the seniors that you've met?
Well, while younger generations tend to be caught up in anxious habits, and I really think that seniors keep it chill. I've learned through my years here that seniors really are having all the fun. I'm not lying. If you saw a group of seniors compared to a group of younger generation, the seniors would be laughing. They would be engaged.
Right.
They wouldn't be staring at their phones, So they really are having all the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They-
They've made it through so much,
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
for them to still have that cheerful demeanor and just that grace and wisdom that comes with getting older.
Yeah.
They have a great sense of humor, that's for sure.
Yes, they do.
Is there one piece of advice you've heard from an older person that has stayed with you?
Don't sweat the small stuff. Live each day as if it's your last, and seek Christ in all you do.
Oh, those are good ones.
I can stand by those, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I was like, man, when I go and look back at Facebook posts from, well, now it's been, probably, I don't want to age myself here, but 20 years ago, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was so upset about those things. And I can't believe I posted about it. And I just don't sweat the small stuff. Yeah, live each day. I think the kids were trying to do that with their YOLO. You only live once.
Yes.
but they took it way in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So, But yeah, I think seniors, they get it. Absolutely.
If our listeners could do just one thing this week to make life better for an older neighbor, what would you ask them to do?
Just listen. No judgment. No advice on how you think they could fix their problems. Just simply listen.
That is good advice for everybody. And so hard to do.
Yes.
Okay, so now we'll do our lightning round.
Yes, this is going to be fun.
Okay. Who is the best cook at the Senior Center?
Our very own Kimberly Watkins, of course.
Most requested lunch?
We have quite a few. Chicken spaghetti, chicken fried steak, meatloaf, barbecue chicken wings, egg rolls, and fried rice.
Oh my gosh, you're making me hungry.
I know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, dominoes or cards?
Well, me personally, it would be cards. Like, I'm a fanatic, but I don't get to play enough.
Earliest regular to arrive each morning?
Jim McCarson or Judy Underwood.
Okay, one word that describes the Senior Cub Center.
I think connection or hub, which essentially are one and the same. If you think about a hub, our facility is at the center. And then you have all of these spokes of people involved, from clients to volunteers to staff to care partners. And what's going on between each of those groups of people, or spoke, if you will, it is a connection. You know, it's a family that is unique and diverse. It's your family away from family. So connection is the big thing.
That is great. What is something seniors can teach the rest of us?
What really matters in life, which can be different for each of them, but they all have a valid opinion on what matters. And as the future shapers of this world, we really should listen and take heed.
If the Senior Cub Center disappeared tomorrow, what would this community lose besides lunch?
Oh my goodness. We would lose a reason for some people to get up in the morning. We would lose an affordable option for lunch. We'd lose a little community within a community. And then passing on crafting, all these things that our older generation was doing every day. We wouldn't be able to pass on the crocheting and the paper making and book binding. We'd lose the opportunity to do such vital and meaningful work that's needed in this community.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Angela, thank you for everything you and your volunteers do. The Senior Center is one of those organizations that quietly makes Olney a better place every single day.
Well, thank you very much. That means a lot. And thank you for having me on.
All right. Well, we'll see you on Saturday.
All
Yes,
right.
great.
Thank you. Kimberly, our next guest, traded air conditioning for canoes.
That's right. Olney High School biology teacher Will Stewart and his daughter Ava are joining us to talk about their incredible National Outdoor Leadership School expedition. They spent a week canoeing the Green River through some of the most beautiful country in America, learning leadership, teamwork, and a few things about themselves along the way. Welcome, Ava and Will.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here after your trip. You just got back, didn't you?
About a week ago, yes.
Yeah. So we want to hear all about it. I already talked to Will about this and Ava a little bit for the story that I did in this week's paper. So everybody pick it up. You'll be able to see the fantastic photos that he gave us. I guess you didn't take all of them because you were in one of them at least.
But yeah, one of them was a timer photo.
Oh, okay.
I think some of the kids took cameras, but I ended up being the one taking most of the pictures with the GoPro. So
accidental videos.
yeah, I would pretty often forget to switch it to the still shot instead of the video. So there's a lot of 2-second clips.
I mean,
that's funny. Those are awesome.
The pictures are amazing. It is the most beautiful thing. Oh. I felt so calm looking at some of those photos. Okay, so I actually have some questions here. Can you tell everybody what the National Outdoor Leadership School actually is?
So the National Outdoor Leadership School is a nonprofit outdoor education program that does educational trips into the backcountry. So it's, for the most part, going to involve backpacking, canoeing, kayaking, rafting. They do horsepacking trips, mountaineering, all kinds of different things. But the goal is to get the students into the backcountry where they're having to rely on themselves and each other and the skills that they learn from their instructors in order to not only survive, but learn how to navigate and cook camp meals that will provide sustenance for their individual group. And along the way, they're teaching 4 main pillars, and you're going to help me out with this, but okay. There's self-leadership, peer leadership, active followership, and appointed or elected leadership. And so they gear the trips towards learning that in an expedition type setting. And in order for an expedition to go correctly and safely and efficiently, those 4 pillars have to be met, essentially. And so they run courses that they set up, and then random people from all over the place can sign up for, but then they also have a custom education branch, which is how we booked this trip with them. So
it was just Olney High School students.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So
how did Olney end up sending students there?
So I've run 2 trips now with another company called Ecology Project International, and those have gone very well. And Dr. Caffey, our superintendent, and I have thrown the idea around for several years now of doing a National Outdoor Leadership School trip, and finally just decided to go for it. And kind of like with the EPI trips, you tell kids you're going, who wants to go, the ones that want to go sign up, you kind of have to talk a few of them into it. But I think with how well the EPI trips have gone so far, there were enough students that were like, yeah, this could be fun, even though they knew they were not going to have showers or air conditioning or anything really. So,
okay, but there was a special group of kids that you wanted to take on this trip because it was leadership. So
the group that we took basically were given the option if they were in a leadership position within Student Council and National Honor Society. In the future, depending on how many are interested, we may expand beyond those 2 organizations, but for this year there were enough from those 2 that we were able to pull, 9 students in to go on the trip. And so really this is more focused on kids that are in a leadership position and could benefit from learning how to better utilize that position. And so hopefully after completing the trip and coming back, some of those students will have ideas not only on how to lead at those organizations, but across the whole school district as student representatives or even at home or in their future careers. The hope is that they carry those expedition leadership tasks forward and learn from those.
That's great.
I knew about NOLS before I did the story because one of the people that I profiled in my first book was Mark Randolph, who was the co-founder of Netflix. And he mentioned this school. I didn't ask him about it. He just said, this is the most important thing that I ever did was go to this school. And it helped me so much in being a tech entrepreneur. It helped me be a leader because you never know what you're going to encounter from one day to the next. And just having these skills really helped me. But there are a lot of really famous people that have gone through this school. John F. Kennedy Jr., Mark Kelly, the astronaut. There were a lot of people who learned leadership skills from this school. So this is big time.
Yeah, it's interesting the people that do go through it and what they go on to do. Starting a tech company, you wouldn't think would rely on very many skills that you learn on a backpacking trip. You're going from one of the most primitive activities to one of the more advanced things that you can do with a career. But it does open up your mind and help you see things on a more basic level as far as leadership goes, and understanding that the basic needs of the people that you're leading have to be met before you can push them to do the things that you want them to do. And one of our instructors, Dr. Caffey, and I were visiting with, there are teams of astronauts that go through these programs before they actually go on their space missions, because it puts them in that situation of having to rely on each other and learn from how each person behaves and each person reacts to certain types of leadership and can enact those types of leadership. And so it translates very well across all kinds of boundaries as far as careers and lifestyles.
That's awesome.
Let's just start.
Ava, when you arrived in Utah, what was the first thing that you said? Or thought, even?
I was really scared of what we were gonna do for the bathroom, but because no plumbing scared a lot of people. But it ended up being like the least of our worries on the whole trip because of everything else that was going on. Like all day we were constantly busy. And once I got back from NOLS, I went to another camp and we stayed in an Airbnb and there was plumbing, and I was almost like bored because of like what we weren't doing.
Right.
Oh,
and
man.
how long is it? How long did y'all go for?
Were we on the river 5 days?
On the river 5 days, and then a day of prep.
Camping
and a day
like 7 days.
Yeah. 7 days of camping and 5 on the river, I guess.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
so it sounds really intense. Had you ever done anything like this before, either one of you?
Well, I mean, we kind of do that. Every summer we'll go camping in the mountains, and sometimes we'll go tent camping, sometimes we'll go in the camper. It just depends. But it was pretty similar to what we've done before, but it was definitely more extreme than what we've ever done.
You been to Utah before?
I think we've driven through it,
Yeah, we haven't spent.
but we haven't really stopped there. And it was really, I liked stopping there and being able to look at it, because it feels like a state you usually just drive through and you don't really get to look at, but it was really amazing.
Yeah. What was the temperatures there? What were the temps?
What was it?
I think the first night we were in tents at the river base, I think it got down
It
to
was
the
pretty
40s,
cold.
40s or 50s.
Really?
Wow.
Oh, that must have felt so good.
Yeah, it was nice. But on the river while we were paddling and camping, I think the
was so
highs
hot.
were between 95 and 100, and at night it got down probably
Oh.
mid to low 60s.
Okay. When you first got there, your dad told me that you met the 3 guides and they explained to you with these pillars. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you had to you had to get in teams and do different things. Can you talk about that a little? The cooking and then when you were the leader and all that. Just explain how that went.
Okay, so basically, whenever we first got there, there was only 3 girls on the trip, so it was obviously just us 3 in our group. And so our group was me and Morgan Simmons and Kaylin Altmiller, and we were in a group to set up tent, and we cooked together, and then we also, I think that's all we did.
Yeah, as
as
far
far
as
as
the
our
cook
groups.
groups, that you're responsible for your tent and your kitchen setup.
Okay, but your dad was saying that you at first kind of struggled a little to get the tent set up, but by the end, the 5th day, you had it all done so quick.
Because, I mean, we all 3 of us struggled because there were a lot of new techniques and, like, knots that we had to tie, because it wasn't like the ground was never where you could just stick a stake in and call it good. It was, we had to do, like, what was it, snow?
So there's a technique called snow anchor, but
snow
we had to do
anchor.
it in the sand, because if you just stuck the stake in the sand, it's going to pull right out. So you had to dig a hole perpendicular to the corner line of the tent, and then lay a stake horizontal and perpendicular to that line, and then tie the line around the stake, and then bury that in the sand so that it would actually anchor the tent. And so, like, on the river, I don't think there were 2 nights in a row that everybody set up their tent the same way.
No.
We did everything from put a stake in the ground, use sand anchors technically,
Use rocks.
and then walking up the hill and carrying big rocks down to tie the tent off to. And so it wasn't just, throw some stakes in the ground and throw your tent up and call it a day. We learned just about every technique there is for setting a tent up.
Yeah. So, but all this came with some kind of, there was a method to the madness because they were trying to teach you stuff. So we talked about that when I interviewed you, Will, about what it was they were trying to teach the kids. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit, and then we'll get Ava to say what her experience was like.
So the main thing that they're looking for is that you get into not just a leadership mindset, but into what they call expedition behavior. And so we, as an expedition, so with our instructors, we had a total of 14 people. That's our expedition. Now, within that expedition, there's certain tasks that get delegated out. So bringing up all the water jugs and balancing those out so on the next day of paddling, the canoes aren't, tilted to one side or the other. There's also what they call the beach boss, and their task was to go down and make sure the canoes were all clean and pulled up on the bank and tied off so that if the river did come up, we didn't lose our boats. And then there was the groover crew, which got to set up the groover, which... Do you want to explain the groover?
Basically, it's this big metal box that we did our business in. It was really fun.
Yeah, so...
And you have to carry it back out. You have to carry it the whole time. You don't empty it, right?
No, and then at the end, they dump it into like a septic tank at like an RV park at the end. And so at the end, we had to scoop river water into it because it was just solid waste. And so... I got put on that duty, but because at that point I was desensitized to it, so I was like, I'll do it, it's fine. But yeah. So
she and Maddox Johnson termed that the groover soup that they got to make at the end. But the groover sounds bad, but it's like a military grade aluminum box with a gasket seal on top and a gas release valve, so you don't know
it didn't spill.
Yeah, you don't know it's there. While you're paddling. It's in a canoe, but it's sealed off. You're not smelling it. You're not seeing it really. And so I think what a lot of the kids were fearing the most at the start of the trip ended up being a complete non-factor by the end of it. So
that's awesome.
What was the job that you liked the most and the one that you disliked the most?
Honestly, groover duty was the easiest.
Really?
Yes. Because water duty, we had to set up a sink system, and it was like, there was like a bucket underneath and it had fresh river water in it. And then on top of it was another bucket that acted as like the sink. And then there was like a pump that went from the bottom bucket to the top bucket, and there was like a faucet, and you had to like pump it with your foot. Some of our campsites weren't directly on the river, and so you had to carry the bucket of water uphill, which was kind of annoying for me. But and then if you ran out of water, the water crew was responsible for refilling it and re-rigging it and everything. And so yeah, that was probably my least favorite, honestly. And then what was it called?
Beach Boss.
Beach Boss wasn't that bad, honestly.
What was that? Like,
it was like tying up the canoes and making sure they wouldn't float away if the river did come up while we were sleeping. But that one didn't bother me at all.
So, but and then your dad was saying also that the cooking thing was a little more involved than one would think, because you had a limited number of food items that you could make dishes from, and you had to figure out how to make it so that people would actually like it.
Yeah, they would have bags of seasoning, and then they had a bunch of different just ingredients thrown into the barrel, and it was like a bear barrel so that bears couldn't get in it. But they really did pack like enough food. We did not run out of food. We had way too much, honestly. Yeah. And at the beginning, we were a little timid with what we were cooking. We were like, okay, we're going to go buy this recipe in this book. And I made like, what did I make? Oh, potato soup. Yeah. And another cook group made that too, and we had like a competition, but mine was better. Anyways.
NOLS had deeper flavor, theirs had better texture.
So ours was better. And then by the end of the trip, though, like cooking was my favorite part of the whole thing, because like I realized, oh, I can cook something other than the recipe. But
so yeah, you made some kind of fancy stuff, I heard.
Well, yeah, on the last day, not the first day.
What was it? It was like some sort of peach compote or something.
I made for supper, because one night me and Morgan Simmons did not want pizza because she doesn't really like pizza and I just wanted to cook. So I made lemon polenta pancakes.
That's it.
And peach compote.
Can you
Wow.
believe that on the river?
Wow.
I can't even make that in my kitchen.
No, not even close.
Oh
No.
my God.
Wow,
that's
yum.
They were really good too.
Did you have a recipe for that, or did you just?
There was like an instant like baking recipe in the thing. It was like you can make it before you go on the river and pack it out. It's like a powder. So I just went off of that, but then substituted some of the flour with polenta and then just made the pancakes. So.
That is,
Yum.
I mean, your leadership skills are kicking in.
Yeah.
All right, so then I also understand that you had to be the group leader or the designated leader, and that sounds like it was a little bit complicated. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Mm-hmm. It honestly wasn't that bad. I feel like a lot of people were nervous. Like, I saw the first designated leaders. I was the second day we did designated leaders. And they were all, like, kind of timid about it. I think it was because they were the first ones, and so they hadn't really seen an example. But once I got into it, I kind of liked doing that better than just the followership. But I also think that comes from just already doing leadership roles and being in debate. I feel like that already makes me more outgoing than some. So it came a little more naturally, but it was definitely a lot to handle while trying to paddle your own canoe. And then, like, okay, where are my people? Where, like, are they all behind me still? And then, like, okay, do we need to stop, take a break? What do people need?
So, but you told me that they had to plan the whole thing out. Mm-hmm. Okay, so explain that.
So then each day after the first two, our instructors would choose 3 students that were the designated leaders for the next day on the river. And so in camp that night, kind of after dinner settled down and everybody was kind of getting ready for bed, they would pull those 3 designated leaders off to the side. Y'all talked about how far we were going to travel the next day, possible campsites, games, like bonding type things that we would do to warm up in the morning to get ready to get on the river, and what time we needed to be loaded by, what time we needed to be river ready. And so then once we got on the river, it was more relegated to understanding, is there a canoe that's struggling? Is there a pair of paddlers that need a break? Does somebody need to go to the bathroom? If that's the case, it's expedition behavior. So you don't just keep paddling while those people do those things. You call everybody in and form up basically a flotilla of canoes in the middle of the river and snack and hydrate and put sunscreen on and things like that. And then towards the end of the day, when we get to that area where there might be a potential campsite, we would get out, or the designated leaders would get out with the instructors, and it was more or less up to our designated leaders to say, yes, we want to try to camp here, or let's move down a little bit further and check out this other spot. It's not, I wouldn't say it was super high stakes as far as the leader, that campsite selection and things, but it wasn't your day that y'all went up to the one side and it was super hot?
That was my day.
That was your day?
Yes. There was like a super long path, and it was covered by trees, and then once we got to the campsite that they wanted to look at, it was just flat, and it was so hot because there was no water, no shade, nothing there. It was just flat dirt, and it was so hot. It felt like I don't even know. It's like an oven.
So what did you do?
Well, we had to walk down a little further, and then there was an empty riverbed that we camped on the side of, and it actually turned out to be my favorite campsite we had the whole time, because we went up the side of the empty riverbed onto the top of the bank, or where the bank would be, and we had a separate area for where all our stuff was, and then we had a shaded area for where all of our kitchen stuff was, and then we would go down the bank a little bit and to the left, and then there would be all of our tents. We made this tent circle, and we just hung out in the middle of it. It was really fun.
Oh, did you have a fire at night, or?
No.
Couldn't have a fire. Utah was on fire.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, man.
They were under a pretty stringent burn ban, so it was all just camp stoves and flashlights the whole time. So,
but honestly, it was too hot. That night we didn't sleep with our rain fly on it because it was so hot there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty warm during the day, and while you're paddling, it's not bad because you got the air coming up off the water
and splashing
each other to stay cool. But once you hit the bank and it's time to carry all the gear up to camp and get everything set up and cook and set up your tent and all that, you just get hot all over again. And so it could be pretty brutal depending on, if the camp was on a shady side of a canyon wall or if it was out in the sun. And so those are all things that you have to kind of consider when you're looking at, okay, this is where we're going to put all of our group. And if, say you did pick a bad campsite, so if we had stayed at the one that was super hot, not only is that now in the mind of those designated leaders of, we got to make sure that this campsite is okay, but if you choose that one, now you've got to be more concerned about the morale of the entire group. And so weighing those options and those outcomes is it's a big decision to make.
Yeah, that does
that's awesome. I had a question. Okay, about the tent. So what kind of tent was it? Is it one that you just buy from Walmart, or is it like you just have some stakes, or what kind of tent is it?
So on this course, they vary, I think, between the different types of courses. But for this course, it was a what you would call like a pyramid style or teepee style tent that basically just uses one telescoping pole in the middle, and then at minimum 4 stakes to stake out the body of the tent. And the tent body itself is all mesh. And then there's a rain fly that you can put on top of that if you want to, or if you don't want to, you don't have to. And so they're probably called 4-person tents. We had 3 people to a tent, and that's plenty in those little bitty tents. So,
especially how bad we stink.
Yeah. There were definitely some smells coming from our group, but
and complaints about it.
Yeah. Some people were more nose blind than the others by the end of the trip, but they weren't uncomfortable tents. The rain fly set up high enough that if you set it up correctly, you had plenty of airflow to keep you cool. But the instructors and at least one student, maybe 2, and myself on most of the nights opted just to sleep outside. Just throw your pad and your sleeping bag on the ground and do that. It was cool enough at night that felt good and not too cold that you wanted, some kind of a wall around you to block wind. But also it's hard to pass up an opportunity to look at the night sky in a location like that, because it's pretty phenomenal.
Ooh, speaking of that, I heard that there was a special celestial display when you were out there.
Yeah, so the night that we were at your campsite that you and your other designated leaders picked, I was pretty much ready to go to bed, but I decided to take the GoPro down and try to take some pictures of the stars and whatnot. And all the kids were in their little tent circle singing and cutting up and doing all kinds of stuff. And so I went down to the riverbank, which was, 100 yards from camp.
Yeah.
And I was getting ready to take pictures, and I noticed that I was looking north, like could see the North Star, Big Dipper, Little Dipper, all that fun stuff. And I looked to the left, like, to look east, west, where the sunlight should be coming from after it set. And I was like, why is there light coming from the north? And so my assumption was that it was possibly the northern lights. And so I used the long exposure on my GoPro to take a picture, and sure enough it was. And so just to the naked eye, it was just kind of a glow, almost like there was, the sun had set a while back below this cliff. But on a long exposure, and I've got some pictures that'll be on our Instagram, hopefully within the next week if I can get around to it. But I actually did a time lapse and caught the northern lights on the first part of it, and then it was almost a full moon. I think it had waned a little bit, but as it comes up, you can see the moonlight coming down the cliffs, and it was pretty special night. And so once I realized that that's what it was, I went back over to the student tent circle and quizzed them about why there was light coming from that direction, and they put it together. I can't remember who it was that finally called out that they thought it was the northern lights, but they figured it out. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. And at any point did you go swimming in the river at all, or is it moving too fast to go in the water?
I mean, at the end of the day, I would wear a swimsuit underneath my river clothes, and so afterward I'd just take off my river clothes, be in my swimsuit, and just wipe off because I just feel gross.
Right.
And so that was my way of debriefing from the day. But during the day, we would just pull up beside each other's canoes, splash each other, and we had water guns that the instructors brought.
Cool.
And, yeah.
And what area and river of Utah is that? What town is the closest?
So the location that we put in was in the town of Green River, Utah, there's Green River, Wyoming, there's Green River, Utah, there's a Green River. It's the same Green River that runs through both of them. So there's a lot of Green River out there. But there's a state park in town in Green River, Utah, and that's where we put in. From there, our first night we spent at a location called McCarty Bottom. The next night was
that the no? It was
Trin
like
Alcove,
yeah.
which is named because there's a canyon system that cuts through the main canyon wall on the right-hand side if you're going downriver, and there's these 3 canyons that come together right there. And then third night was, I think, called Keg Point.
Yeah, I think so.
It was in between Keg Point and another, like one of the sections of canyons that called Hajo Canyon. And then the last one, I think technically was called Barrier Creek.
Yeah.
And so Green River is, I guess, the closest town to all of that. So we spent 5 days paddling 67 miles. And what was it, like an hour and a half drive out to get back to Green River.
All right, so let's talk about that. 67 miles in 5 days, that's a lot. So how physically demanding is this trip, just in case anybody's thinking, I like to do this, but I'm not so sure?
Well, at the beginning, it was a little rough, just learning all the paddle strokes and trying to figure out, okay, how am I supposed to move and do this correctly? But once you got into the groove of it, it wasn't too terrible. At the end of it, I was almost absent-mindedly doing it. Mm-hmm. But definitely at the end of a longer day, like one day we did like 18 miles, and my shoulders were really sore from that. And also, it also depends on conditions, because if we had a headwind, it was awful.
I mean, you want to be in pretty good shape to do this kind of trip. And one cautionary thing is we're not always guaranteed we're going to be doing this trip on these NOLS expeditions. And so if you're a student listening or a parent of a student listening and you're thinking this sounds pretty easy with the groover and being on a river and whatnot, may not always be the case. You may have a backpack strapped to your back and be hiking close to 67 miles through the mountains or something like that.
Gosh.
So in that case, you don't have a groover. They don't bring toilet paper. You learn what to use for toilet paper.
Oh
wow.
Gosh, that's
So,
serious.
Just a word of caution if you're thinking about the trips, things that you'll have to think about on depending on where we end up doing the next few trips. But this one, as far as canoeing goes, I think was very doable.
You mentioned to me that the instructors just could not say enough good things about our students. That had to make you feel really good. What were they saying?
And really anything that we did, our instructors, the river base operations manager, several people that didn't even necessarily go on the expedition with us, but were a part of the prep process at the river base and things like that. I mean, I heard things that they're so polite, they're respectful, they're focused on getting the job done. The prep side of things was more student focused, and so they're checking each student's bag and making sure they have everything they need. And so I personally felt like that went really efficiently. NOLS at their bases, whether it's the Rocky Mountain base or the river base or any of them, they have a small shop and rental service where you can get some of the gear that maybe is more expensive than you'd want to buy if you're only going to use it once, like a sleeping bag or a pad or things like that. But afterwards, when you get done with your expedition, you take all that gear back and everything gets cleaned, everything gets sorted, all the kitchen, all the cooking, all the ingredients that are left over gets sorted out. And I think that may have been one of the instances where the instructors and staff were super impressed with the kids. And then I was too. I mean, they just got done with this 67-mile canoe trip, and for probably, 4 or 5 hours, they're scrubbing tarps, they're scrubbing shoes, they're scrubbing everything in all these different vats, and even down to cleaning ropes and straps and hanging those out to dry. Bleaching out the water containers, cleaning the canoes, cleaning the truck, cleaning the van, unloading from the trailer, all those things. That's part of expedition behavior, is once you're done with the expedition, that stuff doesn't all just get to sit there and rot. And so just walking around from station to station during that, there wasn't anybody that was avoiding work or not doing something. And so it was very nice to have a group of students that were just bought into the whole process. And more so than me, I think all of their parents should be very proud of the way they behaved and the way they carried on throughout the expedition made it overall a very positive experience.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so what
Yeah.
do you have to say about that? That's like incredible that everybody's praising you guys everywhere, but what was it like to be with the others as a group? What were you saying about the trip and the experience?
Well, at the beginning, I was a little worried about a few people because they sometimes they don't seem like the most outdoorsy people, but honestly, they like all surprised me because I was like, oh, wow, they're really good at doing expeditions. Like, a few of them, I was surprised that like they've never really done anything like that before because they just put their head down and got to work. And like the first day I was paddling, I got partnered with Jeffrey Flores, and I don't think he's ever really done anything like that.
We just had
Really?
Jeffrey. Yeah, we just had Jeffrey on our show a couple of
Yeah.
weeks ago. So yeah, he's a
But-
math guy.
Yeah, but so I wouldn't have expected him to be like really good at it. But like I was partnered with him in the canoe for the first day when we were still figuring things out, and I was in the back of the boat, the stern, and he was in the front, which was the bow. And we were struggling a little bit with the headwind, and we didn't really have our maneuvers down, and so we decided to switch. And so I ended up in the bow and he was in the stern, and I had already figured out all the specific stern movements and like how to move in the back. And so I was like, oh no, I have to teach him. I wonder if he's going to be accepting of my advice. And because some people, if you try to advise them, they get a little irritated, which I can see why. But he just listened and he applied what I was saying, and it worked out really great. But there was a moment whenever we were pulling off for a break, and we did not have our maneuvers down still, and they were all like, okay, start paddling toward the shore, and we just got swept away with the current. We were like going backwards, and we just like stopped, and we just stopped paddling and like just looked at each other, and we were like, okay, and then they were like, just paddle to the next shore. We were like, okay, but no, he surprised me a lot.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay, so that must have been one of the times when you told me, Will, that there was frustration at some points and they had to overcome it. Was that like one of those times, or were there other times that you watch them figure stuff out and keep going?
Yeah, and that was one of them. That was pretty early, and everybody was still understanding that, hey, I don't know how to do this completely yet.
Right.
And so it's okay if I drift down a little further than everybody else did, because again, it's not, that section of river is not super technical. There's not any white water to speak of, and so it's easy to make a mistake and then try to correct that a little bit further down. And so I wouldn't say that was a point at which y'all were frustrated necessarily, just kind of like, what do we do? I think where most of the frustration came was after you've paddled 12, 16, 18 miles a day. Now you've got to clean your canoe, you've got to unload your canoe, you've got to get everything set up in camp, and now after you get everything set up, somebody's got to cook your supper. Mm-hmm. And so I think people may have gotten a little bit hangry at times. We're definitely hot, sweaty, and not accustomed to, once you are hot and sweaty, being able to go into the air conditioning and take a shower and cool off and just chill. And so I think the first 2 days, I think getting used to that structure of, okay, we're done paddling, now honestly the real work has to take place. Mm-hmm. Once everybody figured that rhythm out, on day 3, 4, 5, it was a piece of cake. I mean, tents went up in no time. Meals were cooked almost, and dishes too, almost done by the time it got dark. And I think in any camping situation, if you can get supper and dishes and everything done before it gets dark, everybody's in a much better mood. NOLS presents these systems and how you can do things in an efficient way. And then it's up to the individual and the cook group and the expedition as a whole to kind of embrace those systems and make them their own and figure out what works for each individual, each cook group, and the expedition as a whole. And once that happens, like I said, day 3, 4, and 5, everything was pretty smooth. And there were a lot of kids talking to instructors and myself and Dr. Caffey on day 5 as we're paddling the last, 7 miles, saying, well, I just now getting the hang of this, and now we're leaving. So it was, I think for a lot of them, a little bittersweet to have to pull off the river on day 5 and go back to Green River for a night before we were done. But it's, what that tells me is that they got to a point where they were enjoying it and had all the systems figured out to where now I can just enjoy being here.
So Ava, from your perspective, what was that like?
I definitely got into a rhythm like on the last day.
Oh no.
It was trying to manage everything at first was like, okay, so I don't even know what I'm doing at this point. But at the end of it, like my whole group was just like, oh, so we have all this stuff figured out and now we have to leave. So yeah, it was kind of sad to leave because we were like, oh, well, all of our systems are gone. So
But you built them. That's what's so cool.
Yeah. Well, I think all of us struggled a little bit with the self-leadership thing because we were like, oh, we need to help our group. We need to stay with our group. We're doing something. But I feel like our group was really good at making each other go take care of ourselves. We've got this, you go do this. And so if somebody needed to cook, they would not help set up the tent, and the other two would set up the tent, and then the other one would start cooking. And then once the tent people were done, they would trade off with the cook person, and they would go get ready for bed and wash off a little bit, and then come back and finish cooking so that the other two could go get ready for bed. But I think that was a system that we had set up really well for ourselves.
That is really good because you don't think about that at all.
Mm-hmm. What was your favorite memory from the trip?
That's a hard one. Probably our nationally acclaimed children's choir.
I was going to ask about that. Was that for the 4th of July, your little concert? Let's hear about that.
Well, okay, so Maddox Johnson, we're all in band together. Well, most of us are. Some of us aren't in band, so sometimes Maddox would get a little ahead of himself, and he would try to teach band songs that not everybody knew. Uh-huh. But we sang the Crusaders, which is a little song that we play for warm-ups and band, and so all the band people knew. And then we tried to sing a movement from one of our band shows from 2 years ago, and so not really everybody remembered that, so that was a little rough. But then our national anthem actually got a lot better by the end of the trip, so
it was really good.
Oh, you saw it?
I did. I saw the video. You guys did amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah, and so since we were on the river for most of the day on July 4th, they performed as the quote-unquote nationally acclaimed children's choir, the Star Spangled Banner, on one of our break pull-offs in the canyon. And what started out as a joke, by the time we got to Trinidad, Colorado on the way to Utah, by the point that they sang the national anthem on July 4th, it was actually pretty impressive.
It really was. You need to post that video. It was really good.
It was neat, and like when they hit the rests and everything, it kind of echoed off the walls in the canyon. So it was honestly
awesome.
kind of magical.
That sounds so amazing.
What a great way to bring in the 250th, you know?
Yeah, man.
You can't get more American than that.
No way, man. That's incredible. Did you discover something about yourself that surprised you on this?
Well, like he said, it's like I'm in leadership positions at school, but whenever you go on NOLS, it becomes much more basic because of the 4 pillars. And so I would have like daily check-ins with my designated counselor or instructor, and she pulled me aside on this last night on the river, and she was like, okay, so you've been designated leader, you've done all the things, and so thinking back on the 4 pillars, what do you think is your weakest? And I had to think about it for a second. I was like, I don't know, because it was like just really easy to be a designated leader, and like, I don't know, I feel like I can do that pretty easily. But then I thought about it, and I figured out that I'm kind of not great at self-leadership because I feel like guilty about leaving groups and being like, oh, can they do this? Do I need to help? I feel like I need to be there. But then again, my group was really good about being like, no, you need to go take care of yourself. Go do whatever you need to do. We've got this. And so I think that is something I can really carry forward in everything that I'm a leader in. And just knowing that I can take time for myself, it's okay, and everybody needs to do it in order for leadership to be effective.
All right, women out there, listen to that.
That is such a good lesson to learn so young.
Yeah,
Wow.
it is. Don't lose that one. Did the trip change the relationships between all of you?
Yes, it definitely did, because there were a few people like Pedro Gonzalez. I didn't really talk to him that much during like the school year, and we were in cross country together, and I don't think I heard him speak more than 2 words to me. But by the end of it, we could not get him to stop talking.
All right.
That's awesome.
But like, because we were talking about like pets one night and something, and he told us like his life story about all the struggles he's had with all of his pets, and we were like, Pedro, are you done? And then like Jeffrey, I had AP chemistry with him all year, but we never really talked to each other. We just kind of stayed in our own friend groups. But by the end of it, he was really fun to hang out with.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that sounds
love that.
fantastic.
I see something here. It says there was a guitar player at Sunrise.
Well, Guitalele.
A what?
A Guitalele. That's
Is
what
that
he called it.
Oh, I was
but
gonna say, is
it's
that
like
a real thing?
It's like a guitar the size of a ukulele.
Who had that?
Sawyer Edgington.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
And then, yeah, throughout the trip, every night, well, not every night, it was like towards the last 2 nights, I think, once he was a little less stressed about the whole thing, he got out the guitar and would just like play random melodies on it, and we would like just all be like laying down looking at the stars and everything.
Oh.
And it was like really nice.
That sounds amazing.
And then on the last night, one of our instructors plays guitar and like sings and stuff, and so he got out his guitalele and she got out her guitar, and then Morgan Simmons and I sang along too, and we like sang like the Eagles and just
Oh my
it was
gosh.
really fun.
That sounds so amazing. All right, so if another student had the opportunity next year, what would you tell them about this trip?
It's gonna be rough at first, but it's a process. You'll get into it. It takes a minute, definitely, but once you adapt and get the systems down and figure out what's good for you and what's good for your group as well, just have fun with it once you have it all down.
All right, so they shouldn't be scared of the no shower, no toilet.
They can be scared, but it's not. It doesn't become like they just need to get over that hygiene block. It's like, once you get over that, it's a lot better of an experience.
Wow.
Okay, so let's go to for parents that are kind of concerned about how this gets paid for. Like you started fundraising a whole year in advance, right?
Yes, I try to start our fundraising process at least a year in advance, if not a little sooner. This year, the way it worked out, each student paid a $150 deposit, which NOLS held on to as basically a rental credit. And so when we showed up, if the students needed to rent anything, it came out of that $150. Other than that, as far as student cost, it was clothing, bags, shoes, hats, anything that they needed while they were on expedition was out of pocket for them. The tuition for the course itself per student on this one, I think, was $3,250 per student, which sounds like a lot, but we live in a very unique community that is very well invested in wanting our students to do well and have these experiences, so that not only does it benefit that student and help them in whatever career in life that they choose after high school, but hopefully some of those students will come back to Olney and reinvest some of that knowledge in our community. And so this trip, in addition to the 2 Ecology Project International trips that I've done, have all gone very well as far as fundraising goes. Now, I do caution students and parents before we start fundraising that and there is always a chance that fundraising doesn't go well, that I would like for them to plan over that year of fundraising to put $100 back a month. And you'll have $1,200 in a year that you can apply to the course. If we end up fundraising that entire cost, now you've got $1,200 to buy your equipment with. If you don't spend it all, now you can put that in your savings account. Mm-hmm. So I definitely urge parents and students to put money back for it in the event that we don't fundraise the full amount. But like I said, we live in a very unique and supportive community that has enabled us to do these 3 trips so far at minimal cost to the students. I think the most I've had any student pay for the actual tuition part of the course is about $450.
Wow.
And if it's an EPI trip, obviously there's costs associated with passports and gear and things like that. But if, let's say you're a student that's a sophomore or junior and you sign up for a NOLS trip, a lot of the clothing and gear that you'll actually end up buying for that trip, you can probably use on the EPI trip. And so you're already preparing for that next expedition if you're going to go on that. And so it kind of goes hand in hand. One is more focused on leadership and general student population. The other is focused on students that maybe are interested in biology and science and want to go somewhere different and see a different ecological environment. And so it's very doable. It's definitely daunting from a sponsor and parent and teacher aspect as far as the financial side of things, but it's in our experience in the last 3 trips is very doable.
Good deal. All right. So I can't believe what a fabulous opportunity you've
awesome.
given the kids. Last question. What surprised you the most about this group?
I think on any of these trips that I've done, the thing that surprises me most is just the resiliency of kids. And it shouldn't surprise me because I teach AP biology and chemistry and AP chemistry. And I see that resiliency in the classroom. They power through hard subjects. They get great scores in general across the board on AP tests and UIL and anything they do in this school. These kids are amazing. But that's in a school setting where they're going home every night or they're staying in hotels and things like that. But the resiliency and the buy-in that these students have to go wander around in the rainforest at night in the dark after a rainstorm and see all these cool animals, or like last year we walked 4-hour shifts on a beach looking for sea turtles at night from 8 o'clock in the evening till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And they loved it. And now paddling 67 miles on a river in the desert in Utah, and everybody, whether
awesome.
they let it be known or not, had a great time at some point or another. And where there's struggles, yes, but the resiliency and the willingness to push through and find a way to have a good time is phenomenal.
Oh, that is a lesson we
that.
can all learn.
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. Kids teaching adults. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. It was
Yes.
so
Thank
much
you.
fun.
This is great. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next, we're going to talk with Olney ISD Superintendent Dr. Matt Caffey about his experience on the Green River, as well as what happened at the last Olney ISD Board of Trustees meeting.
Dr. Caffey, thank you so much for joining us. Summer is flying by, so how are preparations going for the new school year, and what should families be watching for over the next few weeks?
Preparations, it's fast and furious. You know, for the administration building, for Mr. Orsak, our CFO, summer is an intense time, but it's good because we're laying the groundwork for a successful school year in terms of funding, in terms of curriculum purchases, all that kind of stuff. So it's always a busy, but I think an exciting time. As far as what families should be looking for over the next few weeks, we'll be putting out notices. Next week, we'll start online registration. They'll post notices of when junior high and high school laptop pickup will be, when band starts, and when the first day of football starts. So be looking for all that kind of stuff. Of course, coaches, directors, whatever, putting that information out through SportsU, but it'll also be on social media, and just be looking for those types of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I got my kids registered. I had the parent portal, and my 2 biggest ones we are done. So I'm glad that's over with.
Yes.
They make it really easy on that on that app though.
We're publishing the band schedule this week. Well, we published it today because it's Thursday.
Nice.
Also, I heard you got a new dishwasher. Speaking of purchases, for the school, I mean.
For the school, yeah. Oh, well, that's funny. I was like, personally, I did too. How did you know? Yes. I'm very happy that we have that new dishwasher. The ladies in the cafeteria, they work so hard, and with the dishwasher in the shape that it was in just from nearly 25 years of use.
Oh my gosh.
Last year, we got all the dishes clean, but they had to work really hard to get it done. So I'm glad that we have the new dishwasher, and it should help make things more efficient and just better for our employees in there.
Dang, it lasted 25 years.
Wow.
They made them good back in the day.
I'm
You
telling
guys
Yeah.
were joking at the school board meeting about how you were going to have to do the dishes if that thing didn't get installed, and that everybody's going to go look at the cafeteria, right?
Yeah. What do you mean look at the cafeteria?
I mean, go tour it.
Oh, yes. I definitely want to take the board to, once we have we're still waiting on the soap dispenser to be installed with the dishwasher. That's still coming in. Once all that's in place, yeah, I'd love to show off the new dishwasher.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about the construction projects, because I can't believe y'all are almost done with that storm shelter project. So tell us about what's going on with that.
Well, they've made tremendous strides in the last few weeks. It should be where teachers who are going to be teaching in that space can access it the last week of July. And so that's exciting. The corridor at the high school should be right behind that. We may start school without that being open, but luckily there are no classrooms in that. It really is just a corridor. So if we have to start school without that, it would be a week or two, and then it'll be available to us also. So yeah, it's getting done just in the nick of time, it seems. So fingers crossed we stay on schedule with that.
Yeah, we've had a lot of really crazy storms lately. But can you just, for every people who are not aware why the board decided to build those shelters, can you tell them a little bit about the project?
Yes. We had a safety audit several years back, and one of the things that it showed that where we were vulnerable is access to a safe storm shelter. Prior to building the addition between the elementary and junior high and the corridor at the high school, both the junior high and the high school had to cross a vacant lot to get to what people here in Olney refer to as the new gym, even though it's been there for about 20 years now. Maybe not quite that long. To get to the new gym where there was a safe place in a storm, but you're exposing kids to the elements on the way to the storm, and God forbid a tornado were to come upon you faster than you thought it would,
right.
You're out there. So in response to that, in 2024, the board proposed a bond to remedy that situation, and the community was supportive of that, and we're seeing the fruits now.
Yeah, so they're hardened, the shelter or the hallways, some of them are hardened, some have classrooms in them too.
The one between the elementary and junior high is an official certified storm-proof shelter. Mm-hmm. The corridor between the main part of the high school and the CTE building is a storm-hardened shelter, and the only difference between that is to get that certification, you have to have restrooms in the shelter, which the elementary junior high corridor has that. We didn't put restrooms in the corridor between the CTE building and the main part of the high school. So everything else about them is the same except the restroom thing, and that's the difference between a certified tornado shelter and a storm hardened shelter.
Right. Okay, cool. So let's go to the tax rate. This kind of blends into what we were just talking about, because at the meeting, we're talking about your annual budgeting session and what you're going to do with your tax rate for the taxing district. And you talked about keeping it steady and being able to pay back the bonds for the storm shelters faster than scheduled.
Our tax rate, the INS tax rate, has been in a sweet spot for, I hate to give an exact number, but many years now. I don't want to lie. But it's been in the same spot for many years now, and we paid for the 2017 renovation of the high school at that rate, and then because of where it's set, we're able to pay off bonds early, which means when the next thing comes up that needs to be done, like tornado shelters, we can propose a plan to the community and not raise their taxes. So by keeping it where it is, we can maintain that rather than if the need comes up sooner than what the bond would be paid off. If you didn't pay it off early, you would have to raise the tax rate to meet that need. And so this way, we greatly reduce the risk of having to raise the INS rate on our community.
Yeah, well, kudos to you and the board and Mr. Orzak. That's fantastic. Okay, so public education funding has been a major topic across Texas. How has the recent legislative session affected Olney ISD's budget and just your operations?
Well, I think maybe despite the best intentions of the legislature, the property tax reform, the relief, which I totally understand and personally appreciate, they were going to, whatever was lost to districts from property tax funds, they were going to supplant with funds directly from the state. And they had a formula worked out, but a lot of districts are finding that it isn't quite what the funding was before, and it still doesn't meet where inflation has us. So it's tight. Olney has for years has conservatively managed the budget, and we continue to not run deficit budgets, which is fantastic. Right. A lot of districts around us having to run deficit budgets, which that's not sustainable for very long. So we're fortunate in that we're not having to do that.
So what should we tell Mr. Spiller and Mr. Hagenboo about what's going on? What do we need for Olney School District?
They need to re-examine their funding formula to where it keeps up with inflation and doesn't send us back to funding levels below where we were in 2019.
All right. Well, next time I talk to them, I will let them know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to start this show, was to showcase the specific and unique needs of rural communities like Olney. And so I think it's having you on the show and being able to bring light to these issues. I think sometimes they just don't realize it because people are not talking to them and telling them this is directly affecting rural communities, you know?
Yeah, well, and to give a little bit of how the sausage is made, we are avoiding a deficit budget, but one of the things that we value in Olney is a small class size, and we're going to maintain a small class size. But I don't know if you recall, a few years ago we had a billboard as you drove into town from the west that boasted an 11-to-1 class ratio, which that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
We can't maintain an 11-to-1 class ratio with the way the funding is now, so we've adjusted to a 15-to-1
Wow.
class ratio. But what that means is, and through attrition mostly, we've cut from 25-26 school year, this past year that we just completed, going into next year, we've cut 6 positions across the district.
Ooh.
And again, we're maintaining a 15-to-1 ratio, which is still far
It's
better than
amazing.
you're going to get in
Yes.
in your urban districts and that kind of a thing. And we have great quality instruction, and so kids are going to be served well. But you would think, under the way the funding was before, just for example, if I'd cut 6 positions, I would be looking at probably a $500,000 savings in the budget, or surplus to the budget. I'm going to wind up with maybe $200,000.
Wow.
And that sounds great, except for you want to have a little bit of cushion in your budget, because if an air conditioner breaks and you have to replace it, or God forbid a bus craters and you have to replace a bus is about $150,000 a pop. So
Wow.
your room for emergency or crisis expenditures is narrow.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, we don't need less money for schools. We need more. So,
Absolutely.
all right.
The board approved a 3% raise for 12-month employees. Why was it important to recognize those staff members, and how is Olney doing in recruiting and retaining quality employees?
Well, that reflects about the average, like with teachers are paid on a schedule of raises. This many years you're at this level of pay, and give or take one year to the next, and it varies from one district to the next, but it's about a 3% raise per year. And so this is just keeping pace with that for non-scheduled employees, and it, unfortunately, this day and age just keeps pace with inflation.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Okay. But good news on the athletic front. As we were talking about earlier, I was talking to Mrs. Harrelson, and she was telling me about this bumper crop of kids that are turning out for summer workouts this year in high school and junior high. I have that in the paper this week. And then Altmiller comes to the meeting and proposes a coaching stipend plan. So can we talk about that a little bit? It was a really interesting discussion at the school board meeting.
Honestly, I like the way you tied those two things together, because the kids showing up this summer in better numbers, there's no gimmick to that. Coach Altmiller's not running, here's a popsicle if you come lift weights kind of a thing, or anything like that. No. It is a reflection of the relationships between the kids and the coaching staff.
Right.
And that's across the board. Coach Altmiller is great, and he's kind of the face of the program, but Coach Keeter, Coach Hilton, Coach Tarr, the coaches Flores, I don't want to leave anybody out, but all the coaches on our staff just seem to have fantastic relationships with kids. Kids like being around them. Kids want to show up for them, and they want to work for them, but then that translates to kids wanting to show up for each other and work for each other. And it just, I'm excited to see what fruit that bears this school year.
Absolutely. My daughter, even the volleyball camp that Coach Tarr did for junior high and high school, when I was dropping my daughter off, I was watching all those kids. They were running bleachers. I was like, good night. It is hot. I mean, it's a little bit earlier, but the amount of kids I saw, I was so impressed with that dedication.
Yeah.
And like you said, the coach's passion for them and for getting them to come. I think that showed in those attendance numbers. It was crazy how many kids I saw.
Yeah.
And there was like more coming. I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I know, it's fantastic. So the coaches will be getting, can you explain a little bit more about how the coaches are going to be but remunerated?
Yeah, basically we did a study of coaching stipends in the districts surrounding us and how they structure their stipends, and no matter which district we looked at or how it was structured, we were paying less. Not like horribly, thousands of dollars per coach less or anything, but we were paying less than the districts around us. And so Coach Altmiller put together several proposals of adjustments that we could make. And the one we landed on, I want to say in total raised across the coaching staff, we're paying about $20,000 more in stipends for the upcoming school year than we did in the previous school year. Now, that's across, 10?
Right.
10 coaches.
Yeah.
So it's not all the coaches got a $20,000 raise. I don't want to confuse that, but it's just keeping pace with the people around us. I don't think it's anything that wasn't done previously out of malice or a lack of valuing the coaches or anything like that. The turnover in the athletic program that we had for several years, a new athletic director doesn't want to come in the first year and say, we need more stipends. They're just not apt to do that. And so when you have successive years of a new athletic director, that kind of thing gets put on the back burner. Mm-hmm. Well, thank God, Coach Altmiller's come back for a second year. We're looking at things like that.
I know, yes.
And it's a great investment, man.
Yeah.
If we get a winning season, can you imagine how excited everybody would be?
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
That's what we need. It's a great investment. So
yeah, and it's just thank you so much for being open for the coaches to incentivize them to stay. Like, I'm so glad that Altmiller came back for a second year, because losing those coaches, it's been hard, man. Like, to have somebody and you're like, oh man, okay, and then the kids get used to them and then they're gone. And so I'm looking forward to this season for all sports.
All credit to the board for that. They didn't hesitate. They were very supportive, and they were glad to receive the request. So it was a good thing.
Yeah, that indicates he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So the board voted again this year not to allow homeschooled students to participate in UIL activities. Can you explain the board's reasoning and what factors went into that decision?
I would say the primary factor there is to allow homeschool participation in athletics would disincentivize enrollment, and we depend on enrollment.
Right.
As a matter of fact, our enrollment has gone down over the past year. Some of that's just due to fluctuations in the cohorts of kids entering and leaving school that we always have. Mm-hmm. But there have been several families that have taken advantage of the homeschool voucher. Mm-hmm. And that's great. There are a lot of families that do a great job with that. But every kid that leaves the district, we get less funding when they're gone.
Right.
And so to say, hey, come play football, but don't enroll in school, it disincentivizes enrollment. And so we just don't want to take that step.
Right. And also, I know it's a little shocking that you would say enrollment is down, but you did also talk about the kindergarten class coming up being pretty large, right?
I hate to comment on that specifically without having the numbers in front of me, but I do believe we have a good sized kindergarten class coming in.
So it kind of goes in waves.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes, we'll have...
Well, because you should have, I think that class is at all the COVID babies.
Probably, yeah.
There should be
like a baby boom, a small boom there. Yeah. Well, and since I've been in Olney, you'll have from one year to the next a class of 50-something, and then a class of 40-something, and then I think it wasn't that many years ago we graduated a class of 38, and then the one behind them was back up to 50. So it just fluctuates some. So that's that explains some of it. But I do think that there are some families that have exercised the voucher option for homeschool. I don't think we're losing any to private school that I know of, and it's not huge waves of kids, but it's a few.
It was I thought you said like 19 was the number that you said.
Across, K through 12. So,
okay.
19 kids isn't a huge number, but for a small school, that's significant.
Yeah, it is
a huge number.
Okay, so before we go to looking ahead, let's talk about the NOLS trip.
Okay, yeah.
You were on that trip.
I was on the trip.
Yeah,
so awesome.
with your son.
He was there too, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
I'm trying so hard. I was telling my daughter about it. I'm like, listen, you got to do whatever you got to do to get on that trip because you.
Well, one of the just so everybody knows, one of the qualifications to go on the trip is for a student to be in a leadership position in the school, and that can be a leadership position in terms of student council, in terms of within the band program, across a variety of activities. So yeah, after this trip, Mr. Stewart and I, we want to continue to do NOLS trips. We just saw such great things from the kids on the trip. The biggest thing I think is these are all high achieving kids who work hard, but they were put in an unfamiliar environment, doing an unfamiliar task, and stripped of all the comforts of home. It was hard. It was hard, and if they got nothing else out of the trip, which I think they all got more than this, they come out at the end of the 67 miles of canoeing knowing they can do something hard.
Right.
And I heard one of the seniors say, moving into the dorm and being away from home doesn't seem that hard now.
Oh.
Like,
right.
there are showers and toilets in the dorm.
Yeah. Right. Like that's like luxury to them now because Ava was telling us just some of her experiences, and whenever they start talking about what was the box called?
The Groover.
The
Yes.
Groover box. She said that was, if I'm not mistaken, she said that was her easiest sort of job that she did. I'm like, that is crazy. Like
I can proudly say that the instructors put me in charge of teaching how to do the maintenance and care of the Groover box for the entire expedition. Yeah. And so the kids would rotate jobs from one day to the next. One day you might be in charge of water and making sure the right water cans are filled and the water and the cleanup station set up and all that. One day you might be in charge of, they called it beach boss, which was you put the canoes on the shore and you tie them up to where they don't blow or float away.
Yeah.
And then there was groover duty, and I had groover. I taught groover duty for the entire week, and Ava's absolutely correct. It's stinky and kind of gross, but it's super easy. Like there's not much to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and you can imagine the thought. I'm sure when they got there, I would have been like, "What? The what box?" And for her to end up saying, "No, that was probably my easiest one." She said that and the beach boss were probably the easiest ones, but she didn't mind the groover duty. I'm like, wow, that's
and that's just another thing that kids get from it is when you hear about that, you're like, no, I'm not doing that. That's gross. But it's necessary for the trip. I mean, in the sanitation of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a vital role.
and they realize I can handle some gross stuff if I need to. But I think one of the most valuable things I saw is there were a couple of kids that along the way, in the early going, had a moment of, I would call it a moment of crisis. I don't want to make it sound like we had something horrible happen on the trip, not at all. But it was just a moment of, this is hard. I'm not enjoying being here. This isn't home. Mm-hmm. I wish I hadn't signed up for the trip. There were a couple of kids that had a moment like that.
Yeah.
And the conversation that you have with a kid in that moment is, I understand what you're going through. I had my own little first night moment of, what did I sign up for, because of the unknown of it,
Right.
But on this trip, when you're in the middle of Labyrinth Canyon, there's only two ways that you're going to get out. And one is if you have a catastrophic accident and you break a leg and you get helicoptered out, or you finish the expedition.
Right.
And I don't know many high school kids that have ever been in a situation like that of there's no way but forward. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you just talk to them about, look, we're going to be out of here on Saturday. No matter what happens, no matter how bad this gets, it's over on Saturday. You take it, don't take it the full expedition. You take it one task, one day at a time, and you can get through it. And so you kind of talk them off the ledge a little bit, and then they go and process. And it was funny how many of them had just this moment of epiphany. And it wasn't all at the same time, of course, but of, oh, this isn't that bad.
Yeah.
I'm having fun, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
And by the end of the trip, I think they were all sad that it was over.
Yeah,
you know?
that's
Yeah.
what they were. That's what
Yeah.
Mr. Stewart was
It was
saying
like
too.
bittersweet at the end.
Yeah, that they
Yeah.
had gotten so good at setting up the tents and cooking the dinner and doing the dishes
Right.
that they were sad when they
Yeah.
had to leave. They wanted it to go along more.
Oh, yeah. And these kids were strong canoers, strong paddlers by the end of it. You know, the first day, you're figuring out how to steer in the canoe, and we're going from bank to bank, some of us, and we're getting kind of strung out along the river. And then the last day, all 7 canoes were just together and moving forward. And yeah,
That's awesome.
we're like, let's go on down to the Colorado, you know, like just take
Yeah.
the green just a little bit further. But yeah, it was a great trip, and we definitely want to do it again.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to say too, this is one of my questions. Is it typically, do superintendents of school districts go to something like that?
I don't know. I don't know about others, but Mr. Stewart with the NOLS trip, and then alternately the EPI trip that he does each year, he fulfills a goal that I've had of providing to our kids in a rural community, the opportunities that kids that come from greater privilege have more access to. I'll be honest with you, this was born from my experience in the dorms at Texas A&M. I happened to be in this hall, shout out to any Aggies that were on North Side, as a bunch of guys that went to Jesuit Dallas, which is a great Catholic school in Dallas. But they went to college, and college was just more familiar territory for them. Like they were used to the workload. They had a breadth of experience that they could bring with them to whatever they were trying to learn or do, or whatever the case was. And that stuck with me into my education career. And Mr. Stewart providing these opportunities where kids, you know, they travel abroad to Costa Rica, or they get to go on a NOLS trip, that without the community support and the fundraising, it wouldn't be accessible for most of our kids.
Right.
But he spearheaded that effort, and the community had a tremendous response. And our kids are getting the same opportunities that kids that come from privilege get. And we're already seeing with previous classes that have graduated, kids go to universities and thrive.
Right.
Rather than go to your freshman year and, you know, you struggle, maybe you almost fail out, you're on scholastic probation. Our kids show up and by and large thrive when they get to college because we equip them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the life lessons they took, and not to mention going to college and being prepared in that way is such, wow, what an advantage for our kids to go in there and sort of have a grasp on it. I remember when I went my first year in my first class, and I was like, oh my God.
Oh, I had, I was absolutely terrible student for the reason that you say, because I'd never had any experience. I went to a Catholic girls' school, and when I got to college, it was totally different. Everything was easy at high school, and then you get to, you add in all those factors that you don't have to deal with when you're not in your home, getting your meals made, and your parents going, hey, go do your homework.
Yeah.
It was a lot. So I think this is huge.
Well, and the nice thing too is it doesn't just prepare you for college, it prepares you for life. We have kids that end up going to trade schools or going to workforce that have gone on EPI trips, that we may have had some of those kids on the NOLS trip. We had underclassmen too, so we don't yet know what their destination is. But no matter what, the more you experience of the world, of your country, the better prepared you are.
Absolutely. I can say my second time going into school, I've been in school for some years now, and I'm going to tell you, my study habits are so much better because you have a lot more on the line and you've experienced life. And that trip, them understanding like it's hard, but if you just keep pushing forward, eventually it just gets easier
Yeah.
and better. And that's such an important life lesson for them to learn.
Well, and on the NOLS trip, the kids assume primary responsibility for everything, which it's a credit to their parents that they've never had to worry about it before.
Right.
Yeah.
But as you go out into the world, there's a learning curve there, and I think this exposure probably helps them when it comes time for that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Sounds like it. Ava was talking about the 4 kinds of leadership. I thought, oh my God, I don't know anything about that. but-
Self-leadership. I
Yeah.
thought she mentioned that the biggest thing that she had learned was having self-leadership and understanding to put time aside for yourself, because if you're not to the best of your mindset, then you can't be the leader for other people.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, as a mom and a wife, that is a lesson I have to learn all the time.
It was a beautiful thing to see kids be able to take a minute, like, and walk down the riverbank and just breathe for a little bit and recognize that they needed that. But it was also great to see them recognize those needs in their peers. And it was especially apparent at a couple of meal times when maybe it was somebody's turn to cook and they were struggling, or a couple of them burned their hand on a hot pot because it's not the same as cooking at home, and I saw kids recognizing each other. Hey, why don't you go get that taken care of and let me do this part, and then you can pick it back up when you come back. And that kind of leadership too. I mean, it was so good. I already loved these kids before we went on the trip, but I love them even more now. Like they were
I love
great.
how she said there was a couple of them that they were in classes together. They didn't really talk, and by the end of it, they were all so much more tight together.
Yeah.
And that just
Special group.
That is a great bond to have, and they'll see each other at their class reunions. Be like, remember that one time with the Gruber duty?
Well, one of the coolest things is the instructors on the trip. After the trip, I was in contact with a couple of them, and we got home from Utah on Tuesday. Well, those same instructors, a couple of them are leading a backpacking trip through somewhere in Idaho this week, and they were telling me before they went on that trip, they're like, we're not ready to take on a new group of kids. We like the Olney kids.
That's awesome.
We miss the Olney kids.
That's
So
awesome.
our kids represented our community really well too.
Oh my gosh, it makes me so proud.
Me too. That is so
awesome.
great. Okay, so let's look forward. As superintendent, what are your biggest goals for the coming school year?
I don't know that I change my goals that much from one year to the next. I want to do the best that we can in terms of preparing kids in early elementary for success when they get to upper elementary to junior high. I want to prepare kids in high school for success when they graduate. And that looks like a lot of different things, but the main things are always to provide the best instruction that we possibly can, to make sure that we meet the needs of every student and that we set every student up for success.
Awesome.
That's great. What accomplishments are you most proud of over the past year?
Oh gosh. We continually get high ratings, and that's great. But coming from the high school principal position, I've been in a privileged position to see kids, like I was talking about before, go out and either go into the workforce or go to college or military, and they thrive.
Yeah.
That's what I'm most proud of, is the product that we put out.
Right.
And so moving into the superintendent's job this past year, that's my main thing, is I just need to make sure that we continue to do that.
Absolutely. The kids of Olney, I think the reason why I'm just so insistent that my kids will go through Olney School District is the caliber of adult, I think, that comes out of Olney ISD. That's something that is priceless. And I previously worked at Tower, and I would meet kids that were just there for the summer and doing their stuff, and just, I mean, golly, you can't find a better group of kids. Just, they are prepared, and they are well-mannered, and they're respectful. And that caliber of an adult, they will use that for the rest of their life. And you see younger kids where I hear people talk about the younger generation. I'm like, man, I don't see that here. I mean, like, maybe here and there, but for the most part, I think that the only kids, I don't see, even on this trip, like, what? the kids and the resiliency, the determination. And I also, too, them being so involved across the board with, like, academics and athletics. Man, my kids will... I'm looking forward to it.
We have great kids. As far as the generational thing, doesn't every generation get looked down upon when they come up? And, the kids, they're not as equipped or ready or whatever. The kids are all right. They're going to be fine. They're not vastly different than we were when we were kids. They're just in a different context, but they learn how to deal with it. Our kids our kids graduate and they do well, and our kids they're in school are going to do well.
Yeah, I just think it's so crazy. Their knowledge base is so... I think that it's just different. Everybody just is more equipped in different areas. And these kids, say what you want about technology, but these kids know how to do stuff with technology that they are flying past us. And I'm a millennial, so we were one of the groups that constantly got talked down on. And so to see where we have come... I'm excited to watch these kids as they get older, and my hope is that they will go live out there and they'll bring their talents back here, because we could really use that.
Yeah, and there is a lot of that. We've had several kids that go and get training, go and get an education, and have come back, and they're great contributors to our community already.
Right. Teachers, I know a couple of them come back, and now they're teachers in that same district they went through. I love that.
I love it too.
Okay, if you could ask the community for one thing to help Olney ISD succeed, what would it be?
Just continue to support your kids' teachers and your kids. It's a pretty simple formula, and our community does a great job of it.
Yeah, I think it's important for parents and teachers to have a united front. I'm a big fan of teachers, and I'm just always like, listen, you're going to learn accountability in my house, because I'm not going to have you go to school and be mean or be disrespectful to the teachers. And that's
just be involved.
Right.
The elementary, the last several years, has made a great effort to open the doors up and bring people in as much as possible. Junior high and high school kind of lend themselves to that, because your kid's involved in a thing, you come to a thing, whatever that is. But yeah, be involved. When we open the doors, come in, check it out. Yeah. Give us feedback.
Yeah, I love that we're at the elementary. It was my daughter's last year, and when we had that last end of the year party, I was like, oh man, this is my last time with her. But I was so happy all year that I had that ability to be able to go in there and anything that was there, I was there, just because I know it goes so quick, and then they get older and they're like, please don't show up.
Telling me. Yeah, it's fast.
All right, lightning round. Okay. I like the way it says fun right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your favorite first day of school memory?
Man, the longer I do this, the more first day of school memories there are.
Yeah.
Both retained and lost. I guess, first of all, philosophically, I don't know that I believe in the concept of favorites as an individual thing. It's more as a category.
Yes.
And so one of my favorite memories is my first day as principal at Olney High School. I didn't know what to expect from kids. I came from a 4A school in East Texas, and I didn't know how they would take to a new principal. I didn't expect them to immediately buy into what I was selling or anything like that. And my favorite memory, it's the same thing that the NOLS instructors see when we take kids there, that when we take our kids anywhere, we often get this feedback of, your kids are just so attentive and respectful and easy to get along with. And I remember my first day not knowing what to expect. I did the thing that I did for the entire time I was high school principal, is pull everybody in the auditorium and we have a meeting about, here's what to expect this school year, here's expectations, all this kind of stuff. And I didn't know if they'd eye roll, I didn't know if they had talked through my presentation, whatever the case was. And the kids are ready to meet a high expectation, no matter what that looks like. And I realized that first day of, these guys want to do what's right. They want to please authority, and they want to do what's right, and they want to achieve at the highest that they can. And I realized that on the first day by how they responded to a new guy.
Wow, that is a cool memory.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Which school event are you most looking forward to this fall?
Oh, Oh, I look forward to all of it. You know, the Booster Club's going to do the tacos and tailgates thing again, and that creates a great atmosphere to start off the football season. Personally, my daughter is going into 7th grade, and she's going to do cross country, so I'm looking forward to the first cross country meet for junior high.
Oh, yeah.
My son plays football, so obviously I look forward to the football games. I help my wife with debate. I judge for her at tournaments and all that. I'm looking forward to getting that whole process started.
Is your wife the one that has the beeper whenever they use like or
Oh, the little clicker thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Ava was talking
that's
about
so
that.
awesome.
yeah.
That is so smart.
Yes.
I need that. I need somebody to just follow me around.
But that's part of why our kids are so successful with speaking events is
Right.
she abuses that out of them, you know.
When people visit Olney ISD for the first time, what do you hope that they notice about our schools?
Just how good our kids are.
Oh, yeah.
More than anything, the kids in the building, just how good they are. We have really, really, really good kids.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right, last question. Finish this sentence. This is going to be a great school year because...
Is it bad to say because it has to be? Anything less is unacceptable.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
absolutely correct.
All right, well, do you have any more questions?
No, just thank you so much. Thank you for going on that trip. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
I bet I think that's really cool that you went. I don't know that in the school districts I went through, I don't know that our superintendent would have went on something like
Yeah.
that. So I think it's really neat you did that.
I
And
appreciate that.
thank you for all you're doing for our kids. And just as a parent, I see what the board and you and all the teachers are doing. And I'm so always proud to be able to say my kids go to Olney ISD.
Well, thank you for that, but all of that is also a reflection of the community, which you're a part of, so thank you.
Yes.
All right, we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you, this was fun.
Oh, good.
Well, Gina, let's finish up with some things coming up around Olney and Young County over the next couple of weeks.
There's definitely something for just about everybody this time.
If you've ever wanted to learn more about the Bible without feeling like you're being put on the spot, Cumberland Presbyterian Church is starting something new this Sunday. Beginning Sunday at 9:30 a.m., Richard West will lead a casual, family-style Bible study in the Fellowship Hall at 210 South Avenue M. The idea is to simply explore the Bible together around a table in a comfortable setting. No pressure, no obligation, and no one will call on you to pray unless you want to.
Next Saturday night is one of my favorite community events of the summer, and we just talked about it with Angela Lockard, but just in case you forgot.
Yes, the second annual Senior Cub Center Variety Show. It's happening Saturday, July 18th at 6:30 p.m. at the Olney Civic Center, and it's sponsored by Tower Extrusions.
After talking with Angela today, you know this isn't just about entertainment. Every dollar raised helps support the Senior Cub Center and its Meals on Wheels program. Admission is simply by donation, so give what you can and come and enjoy a great evening while supporting one of Olney's most important organizations. Okay, and looking ahead to Monday, July 20th, the Young County Democrats will host their Beans and Jeans 2026 events beginning at 5:30 p.m. in the multi-purpose room on the North Central Texas College campus in Graham. The event will feature several Democratic candidates, including Clayton Tucker, who's running for Agriculture Commissioner, Dion Sims, candidate for Congress, Kendall Scudder, chairman of the Texas Democratic Party, along with a message from James Tallarico, who's running for the U.S. Senate.
Now, let's talk about a couple things happening later this month that you want to put on your calendar.
First, if you're a local business owner or you've ever wondered what all the excitement about artificial intelligence is, you'll definitely want to check out the Olney Chamber of Commerce's Small Business Academy, and I have already reserved my place because I think it's going to be so awesome.
Yes, that's coming up Monday, July 27th at noon at the Olney Civic Center. The class is called Using AI in Business. They're going to talk about 10 ways that you can use AI on your everyday business processes. It's actually designed for people who have little or no technical experience. They'll also have a Q&A session afterwards, and this group, they're out of Wichita Falls. They are called Arum AI, and so they'll be leading the class, so thank you to them for taking that time and coming out there. So they'll cover practical ways AI can help save time, create marketing content, improve customer communication, generate new ideas, and simply help you work smarter instead of harder. Lunch is included. It's free for chamber members and only $5 for non-members. Space is limited, so call the chamber at 940-564-5445 to reserve your seat.
And for our young football players,
Coach Dustin Altmiller and the Olney Cubs will host their annual youth football camp July 27th through the 29th at Cubs Stadium. Kids entering 1st through 5th grade will meet from 8:30 to 9:30 each morning, while students entering 6th through 9th grades will practice from 10 until 11 a.m. The cost is just $20 per camper, and participants should bring football cleats and a water bottle each day.
if you've got a young cub at home who's excited about football season, this is a great opportunity to learn from the high school coaches and players.
Yes, I've already signed my son up. He is so excited. Also, I want to tell everybody to mark your calendars for the Olney Chamber Cub Homecoming Tailgate on September 18th at the Olney ISD cafeteria.
Ooh. One thing I want to mention, though, is the First Baptist Church of Olney is having its topping out ceremony on July 17th, 2026. This is for their new addition that's in the back, their education building, and they're doing the topping out ceremony.
Friday at 10.
Yes.
And I will be there. Where are you going to be there?
Of course.
Yes.
Yes. So everybody go see what's going on. It looks pretty awesome back there. What used to be a parking lot is now going to be a building. So yeah, that'll be great.
Yep, and we just had 2 groups of kids that left on their summer camp. First United Methodist, they just went on theirs. Then my daughter just went on the First Baptist Church. They went to Iowa Park, and you have to look at the pictures. It's so fun, and my daughter loved it last year, and my son is just chomping at the bit for when he gets to go. So,
that is fantastic.
Those kids, I hope they had a great time.
Me too.
And as always, if your organization has an event coming up, please let us know. We'd love to help spread the word. If you want to come on and talk about anything that's going on that you feel people need to hear about, please just reach out to me or Gina.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can find even more community events in this week's Olney Enterprise on the Chamber's Facebook page, and of course right here on Olney On Air. Well, that's going to do it for episode 9 of Olney On Air.
Thanks to Angela Lockard, Will Stewart, and Ava Stewart for spending time with us today.
If you enjoy the show, please like it, share it, and tell your friends. Every share helps more people discover what's happening here in Olney and across Young County.
Yes, you can find us on all of our social media channels at Olney On Air. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as our podcast is just called Olney On Air. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and any other place you can find your streaming, your podcast streams.
Yep, that's right.
I'm Kimberly Smith.
And I'm Gina Keating.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on Olney On Air.